Hello and welcome back. My name is Sean, aka the Cockney Charmer, and today I have two videos looking at the prologue to BIOMUTANT being played on PlayStation 5. In part one, we looked at the start of the game, we looked at how you create your character, your builds. We had a quick look at the good and evil choices that you can make that define your character as you play. We had a quick look at the combat in the training style. In part two, we have to go further into complete the prologue, where we're going to be looking at more of the upgrading system to your character and what happens when you start interacting with other characters as well. Again, I am enjoying BIOMUTANT. Oh, hello, big boy. You've got your shield, I see. Yes, let's get rid of your shield, shall we?
Tapped hard.
In fact, I'm going to take care of the gun guy first, because he's the one that's going to be more annoying. I don't know why it is just characters with guns just mess me up so much in this game. And there we go. Now we can level up for the first time. And then our reward is sweets.
Small things for your big ideas.
So let's have a look at the upgrade system, because there's a few. Now, when you get a level up point, you apply it to your attributes. So you can increase your health, your strength, your intellect. Intellect, there are puzzles in the game where you have a certain number of moves in order to solve a puzzle. The higher your intellect, the more moves that you have. Agility, how fast can you move? Also, so some are combat based, some are dialogue. For example, like charisma will help you get a better price when you're selling gear or trying to buy parts and gear from the vendors in the game. Luck seems to help with getting better loot. This isn't something I've experienced has been overly helpful. I am immediately going to go into health because of my melee build. But as you can see, I'm automatically going to get a boost to my armor just by leveling up. Which is very nice.
You've been working out.
Yes. And then we get an upgrade point, which comes in the form of a dog tag. Not sure why. But Wung Fu is the martial... What I've noticed in BIOMUTANT, that there's a very heavy kind of Japanese martial arts kind of cultural theme to everything that you do, in the way people dress, in the way that the tribal system works. You can just see. So I don't know whether it's because the game is set in what would have been Japan before the end of the world. But there's a very cultural move towards martial arts, almost a samurai nature to the tribal system in the game. So upgrade points, you can apply them to the various based on your class as well. So for now, we can either improve our ability to use guns and get a special move for using guns, or we can go back to our melee combat of unarmed, one-handed slash or dual wield. We are currently a dual wield, hence by the two sides, and we're going to unlock the stoppable pig move. And of course, as you level up, you'll be able to earn more upgrade points, and then you can apply them to unlocking more moves. You can also apply them to other styles. So it all depends on what your play style wants to be. But Wung Fu is the fighting style that every single class is based on. And there's also perks. Now, perks is what you can use your upgrade points to purchase, so you can increase your chance of getting better loot. And these are permanent increases to your character as well. So there are a lot of systems at work here. Now, some of them do complement each other well, some of them don't. There's quite a lot to get your head round.
Look, an emergency box from the once was. A rare sight.
Yeah, and we've got a crowbar. So now we can open doors and items that we couldn't normally open. So exploding barrels are quite handy because you can literally smack one and you can towards enemies and shoot it.
That pipe looks weak. The claw bar should come in handy.
Aha! Ew.
Whoa.
Oof.
It's time to find a way out of this place. No, really, I mean it.
So when you remember that the cricket is the one doing the narrating and talking to you. Now, some people have had a complaint about the narrator. I quite like him. The narrator basically steps in if something needs to be explained, or if a conversation needs to be translated. Then the narrator is what takes care of that. You can, in the settings, you can actually change how often he interrupts or how little he interrupts. There have been calls. The developers have actually responded because it's only the first week in the game. They have already responded this weekend. Today's bank holiday, Monday the 31st. So we're nearly 7 days since the game released. They have tweeted out that they have acknowledged some of the issues that players had, like with the quality of the loot being dropped, the narrator being annoying for some. So hopefully the first update will be interesting to see what they add, change, or modify.
They shed under distress. Blobs that affect the cellular coding strands of any living being when absorbed, including you. Flash the slash.
Yes, I know, Special X. Not quite there yet. Now, I do like the combat system. This is why I've gone for more melee build. Because I like to get up close and...
Every little bit helps.
And depending on your weapon type will determine how your combo moves look. Bioblobs. We've also, again, this is where I come back to the fact that there's a lot of systems, all different systems, all vie to be part of the same kind of upgrade system. So there's a lot. So there's, when you level up, you get a skill point, then you get an upgrade point. Bioblobs is what I think is what their attempt to say, look, this is your character, and this is the mutation side that you can play with. So we have bio points that we can also upgrade our character with. So if you go into the mutations menu, now you can add abilities as well. So here we can see we can shoot some kind of biogenic fireball at enemies. It seems to confuse and mess them up. So you can unlock special moves using your mutant ability. You also have special moves based on your Wung Fu as well. You can even get side. So yeah, so upgrade points, bio points, side points. Side points will also give you kind of like a psionic magical power as well. But when it comes to mutations, you can either spend it on getting some kind of new move, as seen here, or you can use it to increase your resistance to one of the environmental dangers in the world. So you can increase your resistance to fire and heat, to cold and ice, to radiation, to biohazards, toxic waste. So depending on how you want to play the game, that's how you can spend your points. Now, as someone who wanted to make a melee build, I wasn't overly happy with the fact that in the prologue, you're essentially given a whole bunch of magical powers. So, like, if you wanted to be the Psi Freak, you would have a full range of ranged magic powers. So I'm not overly happy with that. So I'm just going to upgrade all the resistances and carry on from there. But yes, you will eventually start adding special attacks. Again, if you played anything like Darksiders or Devil May Cry, that's all going to feel very familiar, very normal. And now we start to learn a bit about how the world became to be as it is.
Toxanol built vessels called arks to save themselves from the impending doom. But was it too late? It is only from the flight logs of the single ark they left behind that we know other arks traveled through the sky and beyond. It seems those that came before us never lost hope in finding a new home for their kind.
So essentially humanity messed up the world and then they left it. And we basically messed it all up and then we legged it, leaving the world to become this. So this is the puzzle side. So a lot of puzzles are basically this, which is there'll be a series of switches and you have to line up the colours, basically. And depending on your intellect level, this is essentially how many moves you have to complete it.
There are few records of the chain of events.
Well, I do love the fact that before humanity left, someone made a video presentation of just why we had to leave the Earth.
How recklessly the Toxanol Corporation would make its mark on the world. Their rare earth mining and nuclear industries generated tons of waste, and without consideration for the future, they dumped it all in landfills until they ran out of space. That's when they made the big mistake. They began dumping the toxic waste in the surf just off the coast instead, assuming that it would sink and decay with time. And they were right, but no one was prepared for what was about to unfold. Once in the surf, the radiation interfered with the genetics of the wildlife and created bizarre mutations in their offspring. It had an inconceivable impact on biodiversity and the entire ecosystem. The world as they knew it crumbled as nature retaliated. It would never be the same again, and what remained of it became ours.
So yeah, humanity. So we basically made a planet inhabitable for us. So we left, and then the world evolved into what we have.
The sound of spark metal going pew pew is never a good thing. It's coming from behind that door.
Okie dokie. Now the one thing we do not know is where the automatron, which is the little cricket, that is doing all the narrating. We don't know where that came from. It seemed to just come to us.
A bit of puzzling to short-circuit the door.
In the opening cutscene.
Just a few moves left. Make them count.
Haha! Of course! I did that deliberately to show you what would
try that
happen if you got it wrong. Go on then.
Quite a shocking
Wow.
system.
Like I said, these puzzles are really
Let's
straightforward.
try that again.
And on the third time, the game just went, right, put him out of his
There
misery,
you
just
go.
do it for him. Thank you, game. That really helped my video. I'm not even going to edit that out. I'm going to leave that in. Hey, there you go. Real life gaming. Airstrike. Perfectly capturing an enemy attack will stun them. A stunned enemy has started something above their head. Boom, 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 boom.
The wheeled one is outnumbered. You'd better help him out.
Amazing. A guy in a wheelchair is being picked on by these guys. Right.
Throw down.
Fight me instead.
Sharp. Ouch. Sharp steel. Wow.
Nice, hit 4 people that.
Well placed. Close encounter. Wonder what you could make with that. Carving it up. That's the last of them. Let's talk to the wheeled one before backup arrives.
Now, what I do like is that when you're doing your, especially with the melee combat, if you notice in the bottom right-hand corner, when you have the ability, when you have the opportunity to use a special move, for example, to use my unstoppable pig, which is square, square, triangle. In the bottom left-hand corner, if you reach the button press point where you can actually trigger a special move, the next button will prompt in the bottom right-hand corner. So if I was doing, so it's like a friendly reminder. So even if you don't, not someone who is familiar with melee combat, and you tend to, dare I say, button mash, the game will say, well, you can do this now, and it's just a nice little visual reminder to say, by the way, jump in and do this as well, which I quite like. Now, this is our first opportunity to actually interact with another character, so this will be fun.
He wants to thank you for taking his side against the scavengers. He sounds familiar. You just can't figure out why.
Wherefore, whereway?
He presents himself as out of date. He knows he's way overdue, but he hasn't given up.
There's a little bit
He
of
doesn't
gibberish
seem
that goes on,
surprised
and
that
again,
you
a lot of
don't
frequency of the
recognize him.
narrator
You were just a
speaking.
child
You can actually turn up or turn
Tonight,
down the amount of
everything
gibberish the
changed.
narrator speaks. It depends on how into it you are. It does make some
There
of
have
the
been
dialogue
rumors of a one-eyed
interactions you
rodent
have with
seen
other
outside
characters
the
a bit
Great
long-winded,
Wall, and he's
especially the
happy
ones
to
that end
see
up
it's
giving you a
true.
side quest, because you can actually have an entire conversation and have no idea what they're asking you to do.
The child that grew up as an outcast is old and sad. The child could have been anyone, but the evil it had fled had left a mark, a facial scar to remember the past.
What scar?
It's a scar you're covering under that eye patch, isn't it? But he would have recognized
So essentially, this
you
is the guy
anyway.
saying that he
You
remembers
look
us as a
exactly
child.
like your Muma. There's no doubt you're the child, and that what Lupa Lupin did to your village, your Muma and Popsy, was the beginning of the end. He says it has taken you a long time to bring the past back up to the present, to find your way back, but he's grateful you have. It was after the attack that the Unity fell apart. Your Muma's the impending threat of the World Eaters bringing down the Tree of Life is ever so close. He also worries about the Jagni tribe that's actively working for a doomsday and purging of the world. Had it not been for the Tree of Life, no one would have survived. He hopes you at least remember the tree.
So this is a nice little flashback. We've come back to when we were a kid. Look at us, all cute and furry with a weird helm. It's also our first chance to actually have a look at the world. And again, like I said, I mean, this is 4K and 60 frames per second on the Xbox Series X. This is upscaled from 1080p on PlayStation 5. And it doesn't look ugly. Why the PlayStation 5 couldn't do 4K at the bat, that's down to the developer. But there will be a next-gen upgrade that will optimise it for PlayStation 5, so I'm sure we will get true 4K at 60 frames per second at some point. But at this point, it doesn't look awful. It doesn't look terrible.
Asks if you were tired, as it's a bit of a hike here from the village. He wonders if your Muma knows you are here.
I hope I told her. See, again, this is how you can start building up your little character a little bit, especially when you have a flashback situation like this. Like, I don't think she cares. Like, it's trying to set the groundwork for what you want your childhood experience to be, which sets your character. So if you've chosen to be evil or the dark side in the main game, you can set that up by saying, well, I had a bad relationship with my parents. Again, it's a lot of detail that isn't necessarily required, but
the young forget.
Whatever gives the player the feeling that they're making choices all the way, I suppose.
He understands why
is a
you
factor.
came all the way out here to see them, the potato people.
Potato people?
The potato people, or Nono, are a wonder, somehow interlinked with this little tree here, fueling its source of life.
Again, you can even hear it in the music. That kind of
right.
Japanese,
Like
feudal Japan, samurai.
An excellent source of ki.
Film going. Why this guy's dressed as the Fonz? I have no idea.
He says you should get over there and ruffle it.
And it really, there's not much we can do about it. It's just a bit weird. So I'm trying to imagine that because where we here, this is where we grew up. So I'm starting to think that where in the world or on Earth we are, maybe we're in Japan, which is why the ruins of Japanese culture has inspired the cultures it evolved. Not sure. It doesn't really say for sure. As long as if you can find a map that says "Hi Japan," but I'm starting to think that maybe that's the case.
You found it. You should be proud. They don't come out for everyone. The Nono's ki energy is just what the Pensai needs to complete its cycle and grow into a tree of life.
So this part is strange. We learned about the kind of the cultural reference point for the world, and this tree of life.
He has the feeling the fate of the world depends
We're
on
about to feed it a cute themed squirrel fox thingy.
you
so
need to support.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness going
You
on.
need a net to catch the nono,
oh,
and
go on
he
then.
wants you to use his, but asks you to be gentle. The nono. You handle that net like you've never done anything else. He's impressed. He's grateful for all the help he can get. There's lots of nono out there that need to be guided to the roots of the pensai tree.
So we're literally feeding cute little creatures to a tree of life.
Key over the 12 months to come. So
it's an interesting one.
Countless, he'd say. One day, he hopes the tree will have grown tall enough to sustain the world. But today, your focus is getting this one to become one with the tree.
Yeah, but we're feeding a living creature to a tree. I mean, that might, Little Shop of Horrors, this might kind of like make you question the world itself. I mean, as much as the story is weird, I mean, some of it is explained the more you progress through the world, but for the prologue, that's quite strong. As a child, we're being tasked with feeding this tree another living creature in order to make the tree grow. And this little creature is going to grow up to be us, basically. So playing choice aside, yeah. I'm figured if I'm a child and I'm being asked to feed a living creature to a tree
with your own eyes, you have no reason to doubt.
That's likely going to mess me up as well.
From this day on, he'll make nurturing the pensai into a tree of life, a life goal, not only for our village's sake, but for all of us, everyone. One day, the land won't be as
like
peaceful.
I said, BIOMUTANT.
Not even your Muma will be able to protect us. You can already see the effects from how reckless those before us acted, and unless something changes, we're doomed. The land won't survive the side effects of the old world's industrial advances.
So it sounds like the world is still being impacted.
Village before your Muma comes looking for you. No, she's got lots on her mind and needs rest after the raid last night on the Lupin camp with her disciples. Wonders if they let the Predator family live or not. He lost you there for a while, but no memory is alone. It's part of a trail you can follow. He says he remembers every single day he devoted to growing the Tree of Life, but now he's afraid it might be in vain. The tree started to die when the end of days begun, and it wasn't long after that.
And this is the main plot point to the game story.
Evolution that occurred after the apocalypse, the Toxanol Corporation inflicted on the land, set the World Eater's DNA into overdrive. His friend Gizmo is working on a mech.
So there's 4 World Eaters that are literally destroying the world. They're just eating everything. If you look closely, you can actually see the animated shadow of the World Eater.
Under the surface at the end of the northwest route. Noko has tamed the midget and is preparing to take on the hoof puff at the end of the east route. Finally, Goop is almost done with the Goo Glide, a machine able to ride the waves of the surf all the way out to the Porky Puff at the end of the route to the southeast. Out of Date says his friends are gearing up to stop the World Eaters. There's
Alright, let's... I get it. So basically, what he wants us to do, we have two choices. So we have two choices at this point for the main game. We can either go the good side, which is to unite all the tribes together in order to have a...
Quickest way out is through the roof where they
come
in.
You know, a concentrated effort of all the tribes to fight the World Eaters by joining the Myriad, or you can join the Jagni, and the Jagni's plan is to basically destroy the World Tree and let the World Eaters do what they want. Yeah, so it depends on how optimistic you want to be, really.
Know that the Tree of Life is dying. Its days are numbered. Without help, it can't endure the environmental change and assault from the World Eaters.
Prologue complete. Welcome to BIOMUTANT. Now, it will be, like I said, this game has only been out a week, and the developers have already said they're reacting to player feedback, so it'd be interesting to see what the first update to the game actually, in terms of changes or adding on improvements it makes. I would like to see an improvement to the loot system. It can take a very long time to actually upgrade and craft new kit, which is quite frustrating. The skill system could do with being refined a little bit.
A signpost.
But we do have... There's enough in BIOMUTANT to make me interested. As an action adventure game, yes, I did just pee on it. The world is nice and big. I like the fact that it's a fast travel system that allows you to go back to previous places. So it's far from perfect for a game that's been in development for 4 years. There are some rough around the edges side. All stuff can hopefully be improved with upgrades. But that's it. That is the prologue to BIOMUTANT. It shows you lets you create a character. It shows you how to make it and choose a class. Shows you the combat. Shows you the upgrade system. It won't show you the crafting system just yet. But now you're in the world. This is where everything matters. What you choose to do, what you choose to say, all goes to shaping the world and the story around you. I like BIOMUTANT. I like what I've played. I'll be interesting to see what the developers update the game with first, what changes they might make. Also looking forward to the PS5 optimization update. But until then, thank you very much for watching. I will be making more BIOMUTANT videos, more based on gameplay once in the world. So please do hit that like button. Please do share and subscribe to my channel. I hope you're all wonderful. I hope you have a fantastic time. So until my next video, be safe, be lucky. I've been Sean the Cottage Armour. Take care for now.